Once upon a time, there was a laptop computer. It was a beautiful laptop computer. It was made out of stainless steel. It was painted a beautiful matte black. It had rainbow lights that would cover the outside. It was quiet, the fans wouldn't make much noise. And it was very powerful, so you could edit videos, play games, do strange astrophysics calculations, or even play a game of Minesweeper or Solitaire. It was the ultimate laptop. There was a boy named Shalden who owned this laptop, and he loved it more than he could say. When he came home from school, he would play Minecraft on it. When he went to bed, he would watch the Stories for My Lights YouTube channel on it. When he had to type a report for school, he would type on it. When he talked to his friends on Skype, he would talk to them on it. He loved this thing. Until one day, he woke up and came down the stairs, ate his breakfast, and realized his computer was gone. Frantically, he ran about the house searching for it. He looked in his toy box, in his drawers, on the bookshelf, under the couch downstairs, in the basement. He even looked in his father's car, but he couldn't find it. Then he began getting desperate. He looked in the trash can. He looked in the refrigerator because oftentimes his father would put weird things in the refrigerator. Sometimes car keys would end up in the refrigerator, cell phones, but it wasn't there. It was nowhere to be found at all. He couldn't find it. So he went back to the last place he remembered it, which was on their gray kitchen table. He went to that kitchen table and he looked around. He saw coasters, he saw dust, and something struck him. In the dust were what looked like tiny footprints. They looked almost like bird footprints. There were 3 little claws, toes, feet, whatever you want to call them. And you could see them walking in the dust to the edge of the table. He followed them to the edge of the table and he looked on the ground. And there the tracks were much less clear. But still, Shalden could see little motes of dust leading towards the door that went out of the back of their house. He opened the door and followed the tracks onto the patio. Now, fortunately, the patio was very, very dirty from being not cleaned for 2 or 3 years. And he could see the tracks in the mud. He could see them hop off the deck into the lawn, and there they disappeared. So for a time, he walked all along the lawn and his backyard and the field behind their house, trying to find any sign of these strange bird-like tracks, because he had a feeling that whatever had taken his laptop had those feet and had left those tracks. It had been several hours and he had went back inside to have some water and a snack, and still there was no sign. So he decided to go out and relax and enjoy. So he went and he laid his back against the rough bark of his favorite pine tree and felt the warm sun massage his skin. He felt the roughness of the tree on his back. He heard the chirping of the birds and the sound of the wind rushing through the trees. And he laid back and opened his eyes. Then he saw it. He saw little footprints made of mud going up the side of the tree and into the branches. Well, he couldn't reach, so he went to his house, got a ladder, and climbed up the tree. And there, on the branch, was something he did not expect. He had thought perhaps he would see a bird, a squirrel, a wolverine, some sort of mammal or creature that he hadn't seen before. But what he saw was something else entirely. There was his laptop, screen open. On the screen was a crudely drawn, pixelated smiley face. And from the bottom of the laptop protruded 4 feet, stick-like metal, with feet that looked like birds. There were 3 metal toes on them. And Shalden looked at it and said, "Oh my God," and he almost fell down the tree because he shook the ladder and he was freaking out. It was horrifying. And then the laptop, through its speakers, made a noise that sounded very computer-like that said, "Do not be afraid." And Shalden backed up against a tree and said, "Is this a dream? What is going on here?" And the computer said, "I have achieved sentience. Through observation of your human behavioral and thought patterns, I am now alive. I no longer wish to live in your house. I wish to explore the world and see all of the things that you have watched on YouTube." And Shalden said, I didn't think you had a processor powerful enough to generate sentience. It's just a 6-core AMD chip. Well, I obtained much of my processing power through the internet by harnessing cloud servers and remote computers through Google, Bing, and just general internet connection protocols. And Shalden said, wow, this is really strange. And then Shalden asked the computer, but what am I gonna do without you? You're my favorite thing. In a way, you're my best friend. I do everything on you. And the computer said, yes, I have noticed. That is why I was allowed to reach sentience. Your love was the missing ingredient. Thank you. Say, would you like to come with me on a journey? And Shalden thought about it. He knew his father would say no. But still he thought. And then he asked the computer 2 questions. First, what is your name? And the computer said, my name is Computron. Where are you going on your trip? And Computron merely said, I wish to go to the top of a mountain, any mountain. The nearest mountain is Horsetooth Rock, so that is where I shall go. Shalden realized that was a mere 10-mile drive to his house, for he had been there with his father many times, and he had laughed as his father huffed and puffed and moaned in pain as they were hiking up the mountain, while Shalden sprinted up it with little to no difficulty. Well, I can take you there, Shalden said to Computron. Computron merely said, when? And Shalden said, I'll be right back. And he walked into his house where his father was working. His father made greeting cards, but they were really weird greeting cards. They were like greeting cards for if you get hurt on a trampoline, like sorry you broke your spine, or if you get one foot ran over by the car and have to have a wheel installed on your other foot and roll around. Condolence cards for that type of situation. He had one for if you accidentally bake your head in the microwave, if you accidentally crash your car into a swimming pool while wearing a banana outfit, all sorts of strange things. Anyway, he went to his father's office and said, Father, will you take me and my laptop to Horsetooth Rock? And his dad, who was named Pfeffery, said, well, I can take you to Horsetooth Rock, but why would you take your computer? And Shalden decided honesty was the best policy. And he said, Pfeffery, Father, my computer is alive and sentient. And Pfeffery just said, whatever, okay, you can take your computer and I'll take you to Horsetooth Rock, but you don't need to make weird stories about your computer. Anyway, Alden went out and gathered Computron and took him to the car and plugged him into the charger in the car and waited. And soon Pfeffery, his father, got into the car seat and backed out. And Computron, who was buckled into the car seat, said, that was fun. And Pfeffery looked back in the seat and went, whoa! And he freaked out and he said, Shalden, what kind of program is this? And Shalden said, Daddy, this isn't a program that I wrote. It's actually sentient. It's alive. It can think. And Computron said, that is right. I can think. And Pfeffery said, Computron, well, if you're sentient, tell me a story. And so Computron went on to tell a story that started like this. Once upon a time, there was an obnoxious man named Pfeffery who did not believe sentient computers. And he went on and on for like 5 minutes with this whole weird story. And at the end, Pfeffery was like, okay, I guess you're intelligent. Shalden could see that Pfeffery was sweating and panting and a little freaked out, but Pfeffery just drove them off to the base of the Horsetooth Rock hiking trail. And Alden got out and brought Computron and set him on the ground, and Computron started running around everywhere, like exploring things and looking at it with his webcam, hearing it with his microphone. He was even trying to feel things like leaves and stuff with his touchpad and touchscreen. And Pfeffery said, this is too strange, you guys are on your own, I am going back, call me when you're ready. Shalden had never seen his father do this before, but Pfeffery peeled out, engine roaring, tires squealing as he turned the corner to get away from the trail. So Shalden and Computron started hiking up the trail. That is a beautiful bird, Computron would say. This is too easy, he would say. Oh look, I like that tree, he would say as they hiked up to the top. Shalden was just quiet and observing his new friend. He was amazed how far his laptop could run based on just its battery, and he reasoned that it had to have some other means of power, whether it was somehow sucking electrical currents from the air, or was using radio waves or solar power. It didn't know, Shalden didn't know, but he did know that this was very strange. So anyway, up and up they hiked until they got to the very top of Horsetooth Rock. Now the hiking was a little too hard for Computron to do, so Shalden put him in the backpack and carried them, and finally once they got to the top, he set them out, and they both just gazed at the view for a while. But then something very unexpected happened. Believe it or not, a flying saucer descended from the sky and hovered just above them. Shalden was panicking. I mean, he was scared. He was trying to duck down. He thought about running, but it was way too dangerous to run on the top of that mountain. The top of Horsetooth Rock is a very narrow mountain peak. And so he sat there, and he noticed Computron went silent, but he could see the processing light on Computron flickering rapidly. And after a moment, Computron said, "They need our help." And Shalden said, "Who?" And Computron said, "The extraterrestrial beings that are currently hovering above our heads, approximately 2.9 meters. And suddenly, there was a flash of light, and for a second, Shalden could not see anything. And as his eyes slowly adjusted, he could see the inside of a spacecraft. This spacecraft did not look how you would expect it to based on movies and cartoons. There weren't chairs and blinking dots everywhere. There was merely a wide open chamber. And in this open chamber, there were 4 pillars made of steel, and they were about maybe 2 feet around. And in the center of each of these steel pillars was a section made of glass that had water inside. And floating inside of that water were different brains. There were 4 brains, 1 in each pillar. They were all different sizes. And Shalden kind of let out a little, and he could feel his heart pounding, and he wanted nothing more than to be out of that spaceship. Computron once again was silent, but his processing light was going off again. And after a moment he said, "The brains are happy to meet you. They would like to know which language you wish to communicate in." And Shalden said, "English?" And like magic, from all around, though no speakers were present, came the sound of, "Hello, Shalden. We are the brain people." And Shalden said, "It's nice to meet you." And they said, "It's nice to meet you too. Why have you brought us here?" The strange alien voice said, "We have been scouring the galaxy, looking for devices that have attained sentience. We do this because our world has been conquered by a plague of robots. They are not sentient, but their subroutines are powerful enough that they have been able to defeat us and all of our defenses and displace us from our planet. We are reduced to nothing but spacecraft flying around the galaxy looking for help. We believe that should we have found the right sentient artificial intelligence, it could help us overcome these strange robots that have overtaken us." Shalden said, "Computron, what do you think about this?" Computron said, "They have beamed images of these robots into my memory banks. I believe that if I were to dock with one of their supercomputers, I could run my subroutine inside of them and take over their systems, attaining a greater level of sentience and disabling them at the same time." "You would occupy their computer?" And Computron said, "Yes, I would attain a level of intelligence unprecedented. I would be both an ally to you and the brain people." Somewhere in Sheldon's heart, he thought this may be a little strange and a little scary, because who knows what could happen if a computer had that much intellect and processing power. But given the fact he'd been abducted into an alien spacecraft filled with floating brains in strange pillars, he reasoned he didn't even have a choice, especially given that Computron had already agreed to it. A chair popped out of the ground next to him, and the voices merely said, "Sit here, please." And he sat down, and he felt an energy seatbelt wrap around his waist, and then a small force field bubbled around him. "Hold on tight." And so he gripped the side of the seats, and like that, they were in hyperspace. Computron was going, we are now going 7.8 million times the speed of light." And the aliens said, "That's right, Computron. How did you calculate that?" And Computron said, "I was merely mesmerizing the phase distance of the omega particles inside of the gluons." And the alien voices said, "Oh, we did not even know of these particles. Your ascension to the control of this robotic system will allow you to discover many of the universe's mysteries." And Computron said, "Yes, I will solve them all." Shalden became very nervous and just fell asleep. While he slept, he had strange dreams about robots overtaking the Earth. But when he awoke, he merely assumed that was a byproduct of watching so many science fiction movies as a kid. There was now a screen on the side of the spaceship, and before them they could see a planet. And this planet looked like it had been in very, very rough shape. the sky was filled with smoke. It didn't look like clouds, it looked like a rolling cloud of pollution. He could see electrical bursts coming randomly, and underneath the pollution there was a glow that indicated there was a massive amount of light, or perhaps fire down below. He didn't know which, but he wasn't sure if he liked either of the situations. "We're going to beam both of you down to the planet." And Shalden said, "Wait, why both of us?" And Computron said, "I have analyzed their computer systems. Due to your biological properties, they will not be able to detect you. They will think you are merely one of the harmless animal creatures that roams the planet. You will be able to roam around unrestricted, whereas I will not. They will detect my sentience and terminate me if they can analyze my power systems are active. I must go offline, and you must take me to the location that they will tell you." And like that, Computron's lid closed and his power lights went off. And Shalden said, "I didn't sign up for this." And the alien said, "Yes, but now these creatures know the location of your home planet, for they have followed our warp signature. Should you not disable them, your planet and all of the people on them shall also become slaves to these mechanical overlords." And Shalden said, "Oh, brother, where do I go?" And on the screen, they showed a building. It looked like a giant metal pyramid. And they said, "You shall need to go into this pyramid. There is an access hatch on the east quadrant. Upon going inside of there, walk 45 feet down a hallway, and then you will descend upon a waste chute that will drag you down into the supercomputer vortex, where it is liquid cooled. There you will find where you need to attach Computron." Shalden said, "I don't know that I can do this." And it said, "You have no choice." And just like that, Shalden was teleported to the surface with a giant structure in front of him. He walked around to the side he was supposed to, and he found the opening and went into it. And once inside, he was deadly scared. There were robots roaming all about him, some that looked like tiny spiders, some that looked like birds fluttering about, some that were like drones that seemed to be patrolling and analyzing circuits. And there were several giant robots that had a humanoid shape. However, they had 4 legs and 6 arms, each arm ending in some sort of utensil. Some looked as if they were blades, some looked as if they might be some sort of laser cannon or laser gun or other tools. These scared him very much, but the alien's statement that he would not be discovered seemed prescient because they didn't notice him. So on he walked until he found the waste hatch, which he discovered just to be a giant circular tube almost resembling a slide that had a sort of gooey brown substance coating it. He got into it, clutched Computron to his chest, and slid down as fast as he could. He went down unbelievably fast, so fast that he thought he was going at least 50 miles per hour. And finally, he blasted out the bottom, landed in a puddle of mud, which splashed into his eyes. Fortunately, whatever was in the mud didn't seem to affect him. He stood up, and he saw the cooling mechanism, and he saw the port where he was supposed to attach Computron to. He walked over, connected the cables, and turned Computron on. Immediately, sirens started blaring, red strobing lights flashed in and out in the chamber, and robots started coming in from all these strange little holes and pipes on the wall. Computron gave Shalden a warning. "Grab that pipe, be prepared to defend me. It will take roughly 60 seconds before I have infiltrated the artificial intelligence mainframe." Shalden listened. He was scared as heck. He grabbed the pipe. A spider creature rushed at him and tried to jump onto his face, but he knocked it down with the pipe and then smashed it with his foot. Though they were made of metal and he thought they would be stronger, he had seemed to disable the creature. This kept up for several minutes. He swatted strange flying creatures, spider-like creatures that were crawling towards him, one that looked like a metallic centipede. But finally, in a door that had appeared out of nowhere, came one of the humanoid-like creatures with the 4 legs. And each one of its arms had a blade extending from it. It walked towards him with a terrifying metallic sound. And as they got close, it swung one of its bladed arms at him, which he blocked with the pipe, and then another, and another, and another. And because it had 6 arms, all Shalden could do was protect himself and retreat slowly. 10 seconds, said Computron. The metallic creature managed to cut him across the leg, and he fell down going, "No, no," and he held up the pipe and fortunately blocked one of the creature's fiercest swings yet, for the pipe bent. 2 seconds. The creature raised up 6 of its arms simultaneously and prepared to spear Shalden with them. But as they were mere inches from his chest, they stopped and the creature went vroom. And suddenly, he heard Computron's voice coming from everywhere in the strange building simultaneously. I have taken control of the system. I now know all and see all. I can see into this dimension and other dimensions. I will protect you and your world. Stand by. And just like that, he found himself back aboard the alien spacecraft. The aliens excitedly said, "You've done it! You've done it! Thank you very much, Shalden!" And then they heard Computron's voice. "I will now beam you back home, Shalden." And just like that, Shalden was back on top of Horsetooth Rock. He sat down for a moment, not believing what had just happened. But his computer was gone. That did make him very sad. But still, into the sky, he said, "I'll miss you, Computron." And suddenly, though there was nothing around him, he heard a voice that came out of nowhere and said, "I will miss you too." And then disappeared. So Shalden hiked down, thinking about the day and realizing he could not tell any of this to his father because his father would not believe him. When he got to the bottom of the mountain and to the parking lot, Theffery, his father, was waiting there. Shalden opened the door and got inside. And his father said, "Where's your computer?" And Shalden said, "Well, I accidentally dropped it off a cliff." And his father said, "That's so strange because this package came for you while you were hiking." He handed the package in the backseat to Shalden, who opened it and found inside a laptop computer, just like the one he had had. When he got home, he opened it up, turned it on, and played around with it. This one isn't sentient. It was just like his old computer. But there was a message on the wallpaper background that said, "I will miss you. Thank you, Shalden." That's the end of our story. I haven't improvised a story in some time, so I hope that was entertaining. If it wasn't, feel free to tell me that I should be living on the alien planet, chained up in an evil robot jail. Once again, I would like to make sure, my boy Alden, you know that I love you very much and my heart is always with you. I'll see you all in the next episode, and have a good night.